In this video, I'm going to be replacing the rear sway bar end links in my 2013 Mazda 3. I did the front sway bar end links in my last video, so I'll put the link for that video in the description of this one. And this job cost me about $50 and the dealership quote was about $300, so you save about $250. I'm using Dorman parts. You can see the part number on the box, and I've already hosed down everything under the car that I need to take off with PB Blaster, and it's been marinating for about 20 or 30 minutes. Here's the new Dorman rear sway bar end link. You need a 5mm hex, and that fits right into the bolt on both sides, and it is the same size as the original equipment on the Mazda 3. And for these Dorman sway bar end links, it is a different nut size than the Mazda 3. So these are a 16mm nut, and that's for both of them. A little bit annoying that you have to have two different size wrenches for the two different sway bar end links. It also takes a 5/8, so 16mm and 5/8 are effectively the same size, and it's one of the rare times where the metric and non-metric are interchangeable. For the Mazda end links, they are 14mm nuts. So I've just got a whole bunch of different 14 and 16mm wrenches and sockets. So on the driver's side, there's the top of the sway bar end link, and there's the bottom. So the first thing I do with all of these is just loosen it with the 14mm wrench. I didn't really have too much issues getting these going, and every single one of them is going to freeze up on you and just sort of rotate, so you do need that 5mm hex in there. I found the best combination was to use a ratchet with the hex as opposed to a solid hex, and that way you could still work the wrench like it is a ratchet. So you can see me cranking the wrench back and forth, and I'm doing that rather than moving the ratchet. Anyway, pretty straightforward, lefty-loosey, and eventually it will come off. Definitely I do advise spraying a good amount of PB Blaster there, otherwise as you work the nut through the rust it will get a little bit difficult to turn. One thing of note, I have the passenger side on the ground, and I do go over and lift that passenger side shortly. You can see that the sway bar with the passenger side on the ground is actually tweaking the sway bar end link up a little bit, and I wouldn't be able to remove it like that. The other option, obviously, is to put a jack under the spring on the driver's side, but that would be probably more work than it's worth. For the top nut, same drills, get the wrench on there, get it moving with one good solid push, then get the 5mm hex on the bolt, and then use the wrench like a ratchet, and then just crank the nut off. Pretty straightforward, lefty-loosey, no change from the other one. At this point, I don't remove that sway bar end link. Rather, I go to the passenger side. I have two jacks, so I jack up that side and put the axle stand under it, and then you can see that this sway bar end link has now become pretty loose, and it does take a little bit of work to get it off, but it's not too bad. Now for the passenger side end link, this one I kind of mess up, and I strip out that 5mm hex down the center, and you can see I just did it right there. And what I do for this one is just grab a big pair of vice grips, and I use the vice grips to really grip down on the sway bar end link so it can't spin. And then I just use the ratchet to get off that nut. So vice grips are a good thing to have on hand, and the bigger the better, as long as you can get them to fit onto the sway bar end link. And for the final nut on the passenger side, once again, get it moving with the wrench, and then get the 5mm hex on it, and just keep cranking on it until that nut comes off. Once the nut's off, you can pull off both sway bar end links or pull off one at a time and put the new one on, doesn't really matter. I found that these required a little bit of effort to get out. If you had something like a crowbar, it might be handy, and you can see they are pretty floppy. They're not as bad as the front ones. Now I'll put the new sway bar end link in. I found it was easier to put the upper bolt in first and then put the nut on so it doesn't fall back out while you're trying to put the lower bolt through the sway bar. For the passenger side, I didn't find it too difficult. The driver's side was a little bit harder. I was able to just do this one by hand without too much difficulty, and then obviously I'll put this nut on. I don't tighten these nuts down yet. I go and put the driver's side one on first before tightening everything down. Otherwise, it'll influence the position of the sway bar. So I figured I would have more play with the sway bar if I just had the end link loose on the other side. And there's the driver's side one out. Obviously using the ratchet as a tool to yank on it, but whatever works, works, I guess. Now this one was, like I said, a little bit more difficult to put in. Same general steps. I put the upper bolt through first and then put a nut on so it wouldn't fall back through. And then this one, it was not as easy to put on the sway bar, but do what you need to do. Again, if you have a crowbar or something, that might help you. I found I could just get that bolt on slightly, and then I was able to use the wrench and the ratchet just to tap it into place so that it would slide over to the hole in the sway bar end link. I also found taking the piece of plastic off the back side of the sway bar end link was beneficial, and then you can see me just putting that piece of plastic back on. It just gave you a little bit more room to work with. So I do tighten the driver's side down first, although it really doesn't matter. And once again, it is a 16 millimeter nut, and I got it tightened down with this stubby wrench. Now obviously, because it's a stubby, the foot pounds are quite low, though I do come in with the long 5/8 wrench and tighten them down significantly more. Just like the front, I don't really have a torque spec on these, nor am I using a torque wrench. But generally speaking, I am solidly tightening them onto the sway bar. Now going over to the passenger side, once again, same deal, 16 millimeter. I found that the lower bolt does spin, so I did have to get the ratchet onto that one, but the upper one didn't. So really only one out of these four ended up spinning while I was trying to tighten them down. And the last one I tightened down here is the upper nut on the passenger side. Once again, taking the 5/8 wrench and giving it a good crank down. And then finally, again, this one's spinning on me. So I did have to get the socket out to do the final tighten on this thing, but get the socket in there and then just tighten it up with the wrench. Overall, super easy. Probably the hardest part is just getting the sway bar end links out. And because it's raining and snowing out, I do use cardboard to lay on. No link in the description for that, but if you got some cardboard laying around, works great if you have wet or cold ground. And then to close this thing off, I'll take that old sway bar end link and toss it out. Now that the front and rear sway bar end links are done, time to get on to more projects with this Mazda 3. Anyway, thanks for checking out my video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.